Konnichiwa, and welcome to the Samurai Way, the podcast where we dive into the wisdom of the samurai, the art of Japanese living, and the philosophies that help us live with purpose and perseverance. I'm Lori Tsugawa, and whether you're here to explore Bushido, the samurai, uncover the meaning of Ikigai, or just looking for a little extra Ganbaru, never give up spirit in your daily life, you're in the right place. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's walk this path together. Are you ready? Let's begin. Konnichiwa, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to all of you out there in podcast land. This is the Samurai Way podcast, and today I have the privilege of introducing to you someone you may not know, or you may. His name is Eric Lofholm, and he's a master sales trainer who has taught his proven sales system to thousands of professionals around the world. And he's president and CEO of Eric Lofholm International, an organization he founded to professionally train people in the art and science of selling. Eric began his career as a sales failure. At his first sales job, he was put on quota probation after failing to meet the minimum for 2 months in a row. And it was at that point that Eric met his mentor. And after being professionally trained, Eric achieved his quota and eventually became the top producer at that company. And Eric went on to become the top producer at 2 more companies prior to starting Eric Lofholm International. So please help me. And Eric lives in Rockland, California with his wife and children. So please help me welcome Eric Lofholm.
Hi, Lori. Thanks so much for the wonderful introduction. I'm excited to be here with you and all your listeners.
Oh, great. Well, I'm excited to have you. And so for those that may not know you, I'd love to hear a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are now.
Sure. Yeah, I began my sales career in 1992. Prior to being in sales, and you've heard me share my story before, I was a former cook at McDonald's. I went to community college for 5 years. You're supposed to go for 2. And so I'm a former college dropout, cook at McDonald's, and I went into sales, and I was not good at it. I was the bottom producer for an entire year. And at the end of my first year, I was put on quota probation, and I wasn't hitting the minimum standard to be in good standing. And I was told I had 1 more month to hit my quota or I'd be let go. And that's when I was introduced to my sales mentor, Dr. Donald Moyne. He's been my coach and mentor since 1994. And with his help, I became a top producer at that company. And then I went on to work for Tony Robbins. I would work for motivational superstar Tony Robbins for 3 years in the 90s. And then in 1999, I started my own company. So I've been helping entrepreneurs, business people, salespeople improve their sales and business skills ever since 1999.
Well, great. Well, that's quite impressive working for Tony Robbins. He's quite something, isn't he?
He is. He's the most famous speaker out there. So I went to work for him to learn about the business from him, and it served me well.
Well, that's good. And what would you say the best thing you learned from Tony?
I think it had to do with consistent effort. When I went to community college all those years, I really struggled with consistency. I lacked focus. I wasn't very goal oriented. And when you get around somebody like Tony, it really made a difference for me. And I learned how to be consistent, and I apply that in all areas of my life now. And so that was probably the biggest thing, is consistency of effort.
Mm-hmm. What I'd love to hear about is once you left Tony Robbins and then you started your own company, would you say you were looking for finding your Ikigai for your purpose, and how you came about forming your company?
Yeah. I started my company in the pursuit of spending my life serving people. And I've always thought of myself as a teacher. And when I learned the sales skills from Donald Moyne, I enjoyed teaching sales to others. And so when I was 28 years old, I left Tony's company and I started my current company. I'm 54 now. So for the last 26 plus years, I've been helping people all over the world And that's what I do in my company is I just serve people. I help them with skills and principles so they can be more successful. So I'm very much living my purpose.
Oh, that's wonderful. And the word samurai comes from the verb samaru, which means to serve. So that is the original purpose of the samurai. And I love having this podcast be about samurai principles and Japanese principles because there's so much we can learn from them. And there were probably times in your career, maybe not, that you felt like giving up. And that's Ganbaru. You never give up. And can you share with us what kept you going?
Yeah, I never really wanted to give up, but it's been very hard, Lori. I've had my ups and downs. I When the mortgage meltdown happened back around 2008, 2009, I was forced to sell our family home, and we ended up, renting, which is not that big of a deal. But when you're a homeowner and you're the leader, the husband, the father of your family, and you have to go to your family and let them know that you need to move, and it's because I wasn't able to make it happen. That was a very big setback, a very big struggle. And there's other times in my business that it was hard, making payroll and just adjusting to the various changes in the economy. And it never caused me to want to leave being a sales trainer because I've always felt that it was my purpose to do this work.
Mhm.
And if I was doing something else, I wouldn't be doing my purpose, right? And so I very much resonate with that principle of never giving up. But like a lot of entrepreneurs, I have had my fair share of struggles.
Don't we all? Everybody in every walk of life, we all have struggles because if it was smooth, you wouldn't strive to get better, right? And
Yeah.
the other principle we talked about a little bit about was Kaizen, and that's
Yeah.
continual improvement.
Yeah. Yeah. I was first introduced to that concept back when I worked for Tony Robbins. And Tony Robbins talks about Kaizen, and then he also has an acronym CANI, CANI, which is basically Kaizen, constant, never-ending improvement. So when I worked for Tony, that really got inside of me to live my life in that way, and it got so inside of me and how I think that one of my most recent books that I wrote is called Continuous Sales Improvement. And so I believe in that principle. I live that principle, and I teach that principle. And I just think it's such a profound idea.
That and so important, because when people are in their own lane, there's not that much as much competition and backbiting. And when people know this is the way I'm going to go, and it may complement other people, but it doesn't have to compete with other people.
Yeah, I'm very much in alignment with what you just said there. I don't look at other people in the training industry that do similar things as me as competition. And in some cases, I even collaborate with
Mhm.
them. And to your point, I'm just focused on my lane. I'm running my race. I'm not being concerned with what other people are doing. And if they're succeeding, wonderful. But I don't personally view it as competition and I need to be better than anybody else. I just do the best to be the best version of me.
Mhm. One thing I've known you for quite a while. One thing I've always been impressed is you were working out of your home before it was popular.
Yeah, yeah. I started it when I first started working in my business. I worked from home, and it wasn't by choice. I just as a new entrepreneur, I couldn't afford an office space, and so I initially worked from home. And then when I was able to grow the business, I went and got an office space. And then I had a major financial setback in 2003, and I was forced to shut my office down due to struggling financially. And so I was working from home, but that wasn't my choice. It was I couldn't afford the office rent. And so then I started really thriving working from home. And I've occasionally gone back and had an office. Right now, my assistant works from home and I work from home. And nowadays with Zoom, you can work from anywhere.
Mhm. That's true.
Yeah.
And all these things that come our way, like COVID and this, it brings us to our path. And One of my mentors said, Lori, in the future, this was back in the 80s, she says, it doesn't matter where in the world you're going to be. As long as you have a laptop and internet connection, you'll be okay. This was back in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, just like us doing this podcast right now,
Uh-huh.
you're wherever you are in the world today. I
Yeah,
have
Seattle.
Yeah, you're in Washington. I'm in California, but we could be in other countries. It wouldn't matter. And
Uh-huh.
I actually gave a couple of speeches in person. I was in Vegas over the weekend, and it was kind of like I hadn't been at a conference in a while where I was the speaker. And used to you always everything was in person because we didn't live in this virtual world at the level we do now. And now I'm speaking, 1, 2, 3 times a day, but virtually. you
Yes.
know, just like what we're doing here. And I'm not happy at all about that COVID happened, but I do like that it created a way where we can do the video conferencing, the Zooms, the StreamYards, the lives on social media where we can interact with people and do business with people from anywhere in the world. So that was a silver lining that came out of it.
Yes, there's always a silver lining, I think.
Yeah.
Um, what what would you say is some advice you would give to entrepreneurs that are just starting out or they're struggling? What would you have to say to them?
Well, we all have the skill sets that we need to develop. And right now I'm choosing to work on my AI skill set. So I'm spending 4 or 5 hours a week studying AI, taking classes, working with experts. And I think what a lot of entrepreneurs do, Lori, is that they have areas that are gaps for them and they're avoiding it because it's uncomfortable because
Mhm.
they never really worked at it before, right? So they might look at LinkedIn and they're like, well, I don't really understand it. I'm not good at it, so I'll avoid it. And the challenge is that sometimes those gaps are critical aspects of business, like selling, my area of expertise, like lead generation. If somebody's not good at lead generation, the last thing we'd want them to do is avoid lead generation. So if somebody's listening to this right now and they're an entrepreneur, if you can just take a good honest look in the mirror at where are your skills not that strong, that if you got them strong, it would really make a difference. And I was talking with a woman today, she's considering hiring me to coach her, and she's in the coaching industry and she's never developed the business skills muscles. It's like no wonder her coaching business is struggling because she needs to work on the business skills. And so that's what we're talking about. And she's considering if she's going to, be willing to step up and make it happen. So look at the skills. You know, my AI skills need a lot of improvement.
Me
So
too.
instead of avoiding it, go out and get in the conversation and get a mentor, do a coaching program, sign up for a course, do all of it, and apply the Kaizen and apply it to where you need to strengthen your skills.
Mhm. And I just want to mention that I've been working with you for quite a while and more closely lately and helping me with my lack of left side brain. But I love the right side. I love the creative part. But the other part is like I need help. I need assistance. I need coaching. But I'm using AI and I'm really liking it. I'm
Yeah.
really, really liking it. It's very, very helpful. And um, the other thing I appreciate about you is you go to different avenues. And could you talk a little bit about your latest one about being?
Yeah. I was introduced to being as a distinction like unlocking levels of thinking and potential inside of us when you tap into this thing called being. And I'd never, of course, I've heard of being, state of being, but I've never heard of it as a distinction. And so I was trained by a master named Steve Hardison. In my view, he's the world's leading expert on the distinction of being. And he taught me different ways of accessing levels of potential inside of me. For example, my kids are grown now. My youngest is 18. She just recently moved out of the home. But when we all lived under the same roof and we have a blended family and we didn't always get along. And so there was times I would be frustrated, angry, upset with one of my teenagers, for example. And so who I was being was angry or frustrated or upset. And what my mentor taught me was that it's not that you are frustrated, you're being frustrated. And being implies choice. So if I'm being frustrated, that's a choice. I could also choose to be unconditional love instead. And it was like, wait, what? Like, I could go from being frustrated at my teenager and I could access unconditional love, snap your fingers that quick, shift out of it. I'd never even heard of that before. And so I started applying what he was teaching. And so somebody might say, I have a short fuse. And the lesson would be, no, you have a short fuse. Being implies choice. So you could be infinitely patient. Infinitely patient is a different way of being than a short fuse. You're going to communicate differently. You're going to use different words. You're going to have a different feeling in your body. And most people, Lori, have no awareness of this. So they can't unlock that. So they just go around life thinking they have a short fuse and it's just the way they are, And the reality is that they could be infinitely patient. And people, they're married and they get in this rut in their thinking about, what their marriage is. And they're just kind of going through the motions with their marriage when, how I choose to be. I've been married for 9 years and I choose to be the world's greatest husband. And it's not comparing me to another husband. If you're listening right now and you're a husband, I'm not saying I'm better than you. I'm in my own lane, powerfully showing up for my wife, being that for her, which influences how I text her. I don't ever harshly text her. I'm not sarcastic with her in a way that digs at her. We just go on this trip. We travel well together where, a lot of couples don't travel so well together. And what creates that? Being world's greatest husband. So I never spoke like that prior to meeting Steve Hardison and learning being. And so it's really profound stuff.
It is. It could be life-changing for somebody.
Yeah.
People that are listening. So if you're interested in the being, you're going to want to contact Eric because he has so many ideas. He's just coming up with things all the time. And before we end, what I'd really like to do is talk to people about their big dreams, and just wanted to know if you could share with the audience about, and you can also share about 1 million bronze proteges that you want to give away.
Yeah, I have online courses. And, we charge for those courses. However, I have one level of membership. We call it Bronze Protege. And we don't charge for it. We allow people to participate at no cost. And it comes with an AI sales coach. And so this is like Chat GPT, but it's my version of it trained in my ideas. And so my big dream, one of them, is to give away 1 million sales courses for free. And if any of you would like a free sales course, you just go to saleschampion.com and you'll see a start here button. And you just click start here and it'll give you an option to register for Bronze Protege for free. So that's one of my big dreams. And another one, I want to live to age 110. And I want to be serving people, operating my purpose for the rest of my life. So those are a couple of the things that are important to me.
Oh, that's beautiful. I just went to a meeting and I'm giving the opportunity to about 7 people that I met at a BNI meeting.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. So if we all help each other with dreams, we can make things happen. Kaizen, continual improvement, helping, coming from unexpected sources, perhaps.
Yes.
So thank you. And just any more that you'd like to share before we end?
Well, I think the final thing I'd like to share with everybody is my core message is you're capable of more. And anytime you want to do more, it's there. If you want to be better at LinkedIn, you're capable of more on LinkedIn. If you want to do better at video, you're capable of more. Lori realized this with this podcast. There was a day that this podcast didn't exist. And she said, you know what? I want to be a podcast host. And Lori's a brilliant podcast host now, right? And so, we're capable of more. All of you listening are capable of more. And I acknowledge you for investing this time in yourself to work on your skills a little bit. So great job. And if I can be of service to any of you that are listening, as Lori said, please reach out. I'd love to be of service to all of you.
And that information will be below in the link when we post the podcast. It'll be coming up next Wednesday. So
fantastic.
Thank you so much for being an inspiration and being a guide to many people and sharing your thoughts with us. And just want to thank you. And thank you all listening, because this is about, really constantly improving and doing your best and never giving up. It's about the samurai way. And so some people, there's a lot of cultures that do the same thing, but I call this the samurai way because I'm Japanese and I'm samurai. So that's why it's called. So I want to thank all of you for listening, and please subscribe and like in the link. And we're going to be doing more, and hopefully someday we're going to be doing 2 a week, so we can get up to 100 podcasts. Right now, I think I have 9. So I'm on my way.
9 on your way to 100, Lori. That's
right. That's right.
You're going to do that and many more.
Okay. Thanks a lot. I want to say thank you, and we'll see all of you for the next episode. So goodbye for now. Mata ne. And that's a wrap for today's episode, The Samurai Way. I hope you found a little inspiration, a new perspective, or just something to reflect upon as you go about your day. Now remember, the samurai spirit isn't just about history. It's about how you show up, face challenges, and live with purpose. Whether it's Ikigai guiding your path or a little extra Ganbaru pushing you forward, keep walking strong. So if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, share, or leave a review. It really helps. And if you've got thoughts, questions, or just want to connect, just contact me. So until next time, stay focused, stay determined, and keep living with purpose. Mata ne.